VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. You have arrived. It is the offseason, 2024 offseason, which will undoubtedly be pivotal for the Minnesota Vikings. This will be the third year in charge for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell. The 2023 season was indeed a roller coaster. Who'da thunk it that at the peak of Josh Dobbs mania, that was the climax at 6-4 after beating the Saints. Remember Dobbs' rushing touchdown where Kevin O'Connell couldn't believe it? That was the very top of the mountain. Everything crumbled thereafter. The team finished 1-6, and a hodgepodge of quarterbacks took over. Couldn't take the team to the postseason. The defense got really jitty. In the fourth quarter of the Bengals game and never recovered, so they finished with a 7-10 record, the 10th seed in the NFC, and the 11th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft that they could stay put, and draft somebody like, I don't know who will be talked into number 11 if it's J.J. McCarthy by then. If Michael Penix has a stinker on Monday night, maybe he falls to 11. But the Vikings have a juicy draft capital that you get excited about, and a spot that you can easily trade up if you want to get something special. But I want to chat about the path forward for these Vikings. The offseason is going to be long. We are about 8 months away from the next Vikings game. And in the third season of a competitive rebuild, those are the two words used by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, this is where the rubber really hits the road. And the reason I say this is because the quarterback, Kirk Cousins, is not scheduled to be with the Vikings next season. He could be back, but we shall see in free agency. So when you stare at an offseason ledger that has no starting quarterback whatsoever, you know that the offseason is going to be tumultuous and, or at least a bumpy ride. We shall see if you end up liking the decision, whether it's more Kirk or it's a draft pick. So I got about 6 things here, and this is my path forward to the Vikings. Hopefully you agree with some of it. But it'll start right at the top, and nothing about the offseason really matters until they decide what to do at quarterback. And I am on record right now and previously, depending on how much you watch this show, I really don't care if they bring Kirk Cousins back or not. If they do not, I am willing and ready to rip the Band-Aid off and start fresh with whichever guy they draft. Or if they say, hey, you know what, we like Bo Nix, or we like Michael Pratt from Tulane. We love one of those guys, and we want Kirk back for a year or two. I can get behind that as well. But if it's left up to me, I am drafting, and this is what I want to do last year. I was on record on this show. I have it published in print that the Vikings should have traded everything for C.J. Stroud. They didn't, and it really wasn't available, I don't think, that option. But that's what I was hoping they'd do. Now I'm renewing that call to draft a quarterback, and I don't know which one they will fall in love with and identify, but the time is now for that. I've said repeatedly, if you are a new general manager and a young head coach and you take over a franchise, if you're not going to draft a quarterback in round 1 or 2 in your first season or your second season, or flirt with the idea of not doing it in this offseason, then when are you ever going to do it? Are you really going to attach your employment to Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles tear at age 36? So at the very top of my list, the path forward for the Vikings is to identify and draft a quarterback in round 1, and if the draft gets funky and it has to be round 2, so be it. But I would not re-sign Kirk Cousins as part of this plan, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not because I dislike Kirk Cousins, not one bit, in fact. But we keep thinking he's going to take a team-friendly deal, and I think for some that means like $10 million. Realistically, a team-friendly deal for Cousins in the current quarterback market would be about $35 or $40 million. And I invite you to go on to Over the Cap or SpotRack.com today and go look at the Vikings cap space. They have about $37 million, and I know that a Kirk Cousins deal could be backlogged and shoved into the future for when the payment comes out. But the Vikings have like precisely the amount of cap space right now that Kirk Cousins would probably get on a team-friendly deal. So I just don't know how you're going to fortify any other offense or defensive personnel and then still re-sign Cousins. If they do it, it's going to involve a lot of budget tricks, which they're pretty accustomed to. But the reason that I would prefer to let Cousins go to the Falcons or the Patriots or somewhere in free agency is this. You have Justin Jefferson, who will be re-signed soon for a 4 or 5 year deal. So you have him on the roster for at least 4 to 5 more years. You're going to have Jordan Addison for 4 more years. TJ Hawkinson is in for 4 more years. I want that window right there, that to be the time that if you draft a quarterback, Jaden Daniels, you trade up for Drake May, or you love Michael Penix, I want that window to start now because it's going to evaporate. If Addison is as good as he looked in his rookie year, I don't think you'll be able to afford Michael Penix, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson will be a little bit older than in 2029 or so. Whenever all those players' contracts expire. So I think you have this window right now if you draft a rookie quarterback to pair with this, offensive dream setup with Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill isn't crazy old yet. I think you have to do that now and start the clock now. Otherwise, if they're re-signing Cousins, like I said, I can still get behind it, but you're delaying the window you'd have on the quarterback's rookie contract if they indeed select one. So above all else, this guy, like I did last year, is recommending drafting a quarterback with your first-round pick. I don't even know if I need to say the next one. The path forward is re-sign Justin Jefferson and Danielle Hunter. Jefferson's a no-brainer. I think they just couldn't figure out the schematics, the details in early September last year, and bada bing, they'll do that early in this offseason. And then on Danielle Hunter, he has showed no signs of regression, and he's 29. Edge rushers don't really have a running back, drop dead date where they're washed at age 28. And edge rushers can usually go, to age 33, 34 at a similar level to when they were at 28. And if you don't sign Danielle Hunter, then you're going to need 2 edge rushers this offseason, which just sounds hellacious. So I just as a footnote almost, the path forward is retaining Justin Jefferson and Danielle Hunter, and you also have to think about Christian Darrisaw's extension before too long. So draft a quarterback, re-sign the heavy hitters in Jefferson and Hunt. And then this one, I don't know if it will be controversial, but I'm saying it. Use your second round or third round pick on a running back. The Vikings told us all offseason that the point of emphasis was going to be to run the ball more and to do it more efficiently. Well, neither happened in 2023, and so I think they need to renew that edict and say, hey, we want to run the ball. But I don't think you'll be able to do it with the current conglomeration of dudes. Alexander Mattison proved that he is not an RB1. Ty Chandler looked good in a couple of games. Dwayne McBride's on the practice squad. Kene Nwangu evidently is just a gadget guy that they don't use gadgetry on. He's only a kick returner, and kick returners are dying. The importance of kick returning is dying, I should say. So, I'm a Viking fan. I'm used to Adrian Peterson and Dalvin Cook. I don't think you have to go out and sign Saquon Barkley for $11 million per year, but you can probably get the best, second best, or third best running back in the draft if you use round 2 or round 3 draft capital. So that's what I would make my second pick of the draft, wherever that may be after if they trade up for a quarterback, is to get a running back who you can then have on a cheap contract for 4 years. And that will involve probably saying goodbye to some of the guys at running back on the roster. But so be it, because this group couldn't get the job done and only really got good with Ty Chandler for what? Yesterday against the Lions, it was good. And then against the Bengals, it was certainly delicious. But I really don't think they're going to run it back with the same running backs. So let's get a new one, scout whichever one's going to be available in round 2 or round 3. It'll probably be a top 3 running back in this draft class and prosper. Then next, and this kind of goes along with, I'm not sure if they're going to re-sign Cousins or not, but any perceived defensive efficiencies, I think you can account for in free agency. So if Cousins is not back, they're going to have, before they even do any sort of cap conversions or pay cuts or anything like that, about $30-something million in cap space. Usually, the day after a Vikings regular season, you go to overthecap.com, you pull that son of a bitch up, and it's in the red for the Vikings. This year is not like that because the Vikings are undergoing a rebuild right now, so they have money to spend. If you continue to have that money and you don't re-sign Cousins, you're going to have anywhere from $35 million, or if they want to, backlog some deals, add void years, whatever it is they usually do, the wizardry to get under the cap. The Saints do it every year. You're probably going to get up in that $50-60 million range, because that's what the Vikings have done every offseason in the last decade. Is they start off like it's either in the red or it's like $2 million. and then they always find a way to get anywhere from 4 to 10 free agents. So I think you have to go through and look at defensive tackle. They always just say, you know what, we like Shamar Stephen. Hey, Jonathan Bullard's a absolutely fine defensive tackle. And they play that guy for a year, and he's just a placeholder. He's a guy. He's a revolving door. I would like the Vikings once and for all to get a defensive tackle who rushes the passer and isn't just some anonymous human being. And then you can have a debate on cornerback. Everybody thought the cornerbacks were trending in the right direction about a month ago when they shut out the Raiders. But now Caleb Evans was benched a couple times. Mekhi Blackman's shine wore off as a rookie a little bit. Andrew Booth looked great when he played, but they only played him a little bit at the time. And then Byron Murphy was hurt down the stretch and wasn't all that great throughout the season. So if you absolutely need to add a cornerback, I guess that can be fine. You're going to need a inside linebacker, whether that's Jordan Hicks coming back, drafting one, or finding one in free agency. Inside linebackers are easy to find. But ultimately, it's the pass rush. You're going to need an edge rusher next to Danielle Hunter as a really top offseason priority. Marcus Davenport won't be back. DJ Wanham, torn quad, and I don't know if he would have been a starter's plan going into 2024 if he was re-signed. But you need defensive fortifications from free agency. That's certainly an edge rusher, probably a defensive tackle. You can debate cornerback until you're blue in the face, and then just some tackle machine at linebacker because you'll have Ivan Pace back. Perhaps Brian Asamoah is finally promoted. But you do need defensive stuff, and that's why the budget will allow for it. $37 million in cap space at the moment. That'll probably dip when they re-sign their practice squad guys this week to future deals. And then any kind of cap magic that's conducted that we see every year for the Vikings, that can inflate that $30-something million to 50 or something. And then just some ancillary items here. I think the Vikings need a new kicker. God bless Greg Joseph. He's usually pretty damn clutch. He had that one real blunder against the Cardinals in 2021. He missed a game winner. Well, he really hasn't missed one of those since, so I get there are folks that love him and think, oh, yeah, he's money when the Vikings need it the most. But he's a bottom 5 kicker in the last 2 seasons. Last year, he ranked 28th in field goal percentage. Last time I checked, he was right about the same. And I'm sick of it. I'm done. I don't want there. I'm not content with, the guy usually hits game winners when you need him. You can somehow find a guy that does both. If you want to draft, you don't have to use your 3rd round draft pick like the 49ers. But if you want to find a rookie kicker or any kicker that can be reliable with the game on the line and in the regular 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarters, I'm all for it. I would not bring Joseph back. I don't hate the guy at all, but I'm just done. I'm done with him because 2 years in a row now, he's been at the bottom of the NFL per field goal percentage, and I don't think that's acceptable. And then finally, you are going to need to find some type of WR3. You have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, who will be back. I don't think KJ Osborne will return. Brandon Powell is decent in spots. I don't know if he's a consistent WR3. Jalen Naylor had 3 catches this year. And TJ Hawkinson will be back at some point next year. But in the meantime, you're probably going to need a 3rd pass catcher. And this isn't like the old days with Zimmer where you just be content with BC Johnson or Chad Beebe. This brand of Vikings will probably invest in somebody noteworthy for WR3. I don't know exactly who that is. We'll have shows about the personnel that will be available for that. But keep that on your radar. That's what I think they'll need. So that is my path forward. They need to draft a quarterback with or without Kirk Cousins on the roster. Certainly re-sign Justin Jefferson, Danielle Hunter. In my opinion, use a 2nd round or 3rd round pick on a running back. Absolutely fortify the defense via free agency. Find a new kicker because Mr. Joseph, in my opinion, isn't quite good enough, and then eventually, whether that's in the draft, some guy you fall in love with, or in free agency, find an affordable WR3. All right, we'll be back later this week with more Viking stuff. We have hit the 2024 offseason, and believe it or not, free agency is about 2 months away. Skol, baby.